She knew who he was. She'd been following him for weeks, tailing him like a detective, getting to know his patterns, his habits. And now, she was crossing the line, her world merging with his, the beginning. Hey! He looked up briefly, but didn't stop walking. You're that guy, right? The actor from that show? I used to watch it all the time growing up. That was a great fucking show. They sure don't make them like that anymore. And this was out on the sidewalk in front of a Starbucks, West Hollywood, 90 plus degrees, the sun crackling above. He coming out, she going in, though she'd been waiting to run into him like this, timing it just right. Thanks, he said, stopping now. It is you, isn't it? It's me, all right. He sounded a little sad, admitting who he was. I knew it. I said to myself, that's the guy. That's him. Would you like an autograph? He had a Dodgers cap on and sunglasses, Oakley's, the large wraparound kind, although really, there wasn't much of a danger of anybody recognizing him. He hadn't worked in years. And he looked different. He looked old, even with the sunglasses and cap. Oh, that's sweet of you, really it is, but it's not that. I just saw you and I thought, that's him. That's the guy. I love that show. And that movie you were in about the football player with the disease. You remember that? Sure. And I always thought you should have been nominated, for the Oscar, I mean. He smiled. He liked that. What's your name, darling? It was going to be easier than she thought. He lived in the valley. She lived here and there, all over, crashing with friends or somebody's cousin who didn't care. Most recently, it was a vacant condo out in the desert near Palm Springs, La Quinta, until all the bullshit with William and the checks happened and she had to leave. It was there by the pool one day that one of the condo residents told her something. She told her the next best thing to being a celebrity was marrying one. But you don't go after an A-level type celebrity, explained the woman whose face was tanned to a crisp. That would be too obvious. Not your Brad Pitt, not even your B-level, your Pierce Brosnan. You go to C and D, your formers and has-beens, people you'd recognize on the street but maybe not know their names. They wouldn't be as suspicious. People who were in a show that made it to syndication, like Seinfeld or Charles in Charge even. Then it's like walking up to a cash machine. They get these residuals. The checks just pour in, ka-ching, and the older the guy, the better. This woman's skin didn't look real. Like if you touched it, it would come off in your hands like putty. Her new name, the one she chose on the drive from the desert to L.A., was Linda. Linda Snow. Snow because it had been so damn hot and the car's air conditioner barely worked. And she was trying to think of something cool, the opposite of her current situation. She believed in the power of the mind. The worst thing, Linda, the worst thing was when people come up to you, he confided to her in bed after, as she raised her hips and then kept still, helping to move things along. When they come up to you and they're not sure, you look familiar, but they're not sure, and they say, "Are you somebody?" And that's always hard to hear. Are you somebody? Of course I'm somebody. We're all somebody. It's just, well, do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say? Sure, baby. I know what you mean. It's like I should be somebody, but I'm not. And what can I say? If I say I'm somebody, then it's like I'm wanting the attention. But if I say I'm not somebody, how does that sound? No, I'm nobody. You worry too much, she said. You know that? You're a little worrywart. I think I need a new agent. The guy I got from me isn't doing shit. He's a little punk. Then fire him. Fuck him. You know what? You're right. He's gone. Tomorrow. Now, she said. What? Why not call him now? Well, it's almost midnight. Who cares what time it is? Fire him right now. Wake his sorry ass up and fire him. He laughed, picked up the phone. I like your style, he said. The show ran from 1978 to 1984, plus reruns, of course. She'd seen him so many times over the years, a face as familiar as her sister's, and now she was living with him. No formal decision had been made. No conversation had occurred. It just happened. She moved in. She was living there. The power of the mind. He didn't have a mansion or anything, just a regular house in a regular neighborhood, but nice, both the house and the neighborhood. He did regular things too, and that was hard getting used to because somehow she thought that he would be different. But he brushed his teeth, he snored, he clipped his toenails without cleaning them up. He hated oregano and rap music, despised lawyers and the federal government. He got quiet. He cried sometimes too. Not the first test, but the second, positive. But she'd known it. She could feel it, what was happening inside her. Now she was in, set for life. So far, he'd been cool on the idea of marriage, or rather his business manager had been cool on the idea of marriage. But give it time. Give it time. Standing in the newly remodeled kitchen, mixing his daily scoop of Metamucil into his orange juice, he said, "Funny how random life can be." She hadn't told him about the test being positive. Soon, but not yet. Instead, she imagined him 8 months from now, an old man with a baby who would grow up without knowing a father, only the former cop turned private detective, who would appear periodically on a screen late at night. You just walk into somebody one day, literally, walk into them as they're walking out of Starbucks and you're walking out, and then your life changes, all because of something completely random. She ran a finger across the granite countertop, a gesture she associated with TV commercials and living the good life. If you had a kitchen countertop worth running a finger across, then you'd made it. Things happen the way they happen, she said. And he kissed her on the forehead like a father and went into the living room to drink his juice and read his paper and then watch TV, the morning just like any other. He was 67, and his doctors were worried about white blood cell counts and bone density. More tests were scheduled for next week. Downstairs, upstairs, she spent the rest of the morning walking through the house that she already thought of as hers, taking inventory, the flatware, the stereo equipment, the cufflink collection. Lately, she'd been going back to something her third husband, she was Angela Taylor then, had once said. You know it's going to catch up with you. The ride will end. Somebody's going to come along and make you pay. Your luck will run out. Everyone's always does. Just the law of the universe. Until then, she thought, until then, I'm free. Thanks.